is Cold Start.
And today, for this episode, we're joined by a special guest, Nick Strickler, or Uncle Strick.
Yeah. Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe a mixture of where you got started, what you're up to, all that good stuff.
Well, I actually got started here at Sonoma doing autocross when I was about 18.
Wow, we talk a lot of smack about autocross.
We were going to do an episode of So You Want to Go Autocrossing, and it was going to be our April Fool's episode, and it was going to be 30 minutes of silence, and then, I wouldn't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, I did about 2 events, and by the second one, I brought drift spares too and knocked all the cones over. So,
and then they probably politely asked you not to come back.
They did, yeah, after we didn't pick them up.
Maybe not all that politely either.
Yeah.
Excellent start to a motorsport career.
Mm-hmm. Then we went straight into tracking cars at Thunderhill, did track days at Laguna, and then I went to school at the University of Colorado and actually that's where I got my start in racing. They started a racing team the year I got there, so I got super lucky, went to college, got to race cars, raced in Champ Car and Lemons, the low budget series.
Was that like a sports car club through the school or like Formula SAE or something like that?
So it was a little bit conjoined with Formula SAE. At the time I was there, you actually had to be an engineering student, which I was philosophy and business. So I wasn't allowed to join Formula SAE just yet, but I was allowed to join the endurance racing team. And it was started just by the students and then got grants eventually from the school to allow more funding and to get a shop and go race around the country.
Cool. Would you guys build the cars or were they sponsor provided? Or
we actually built the cars. Yeah. I didn't do a lot of work on the cars. I joined in just at the right time when the cars were working right and got to go racing a lot. But we primarily just used Miatas. So Miatas, roll cage.
Great way to get started.
Oh yeah. It was awesome. Yeah.
And to go back a little bit, so like, how did you get your interest in cars? Were you in a car family? Was it something that you just kind of started to explore on your own? What got you interested in cars to begin with?
Originally, it was not necessarily family. It was my grandfather, but we weren't a car family. He would just take me to car shows. He was an engineer, so he was always interested in tinkering with things. And then when I turned 16 or 17, he bought me my first sports car, which allowed me to go to the track then and kind of build up some car craft. And from there, it just was nonstop. You get the itch and you can't stop after that.
So at 17, getting a sports car, what are we talking?
We had something pretty nice. We had a E92 M3 actually with a 6-speed.
I know somebody who'd like that.
I know someone who has one, maybe with a couple more doors, but yeah, that's a pretty sweet little hot rod to get at 17 there.
Yeah.
Forces you to learn car control pretty quickly.
Yeah. I took care of it. I didn't crash it. We actually ended up selling it eventually to be able to go and do some more racing. All my other friends that had nice sports cars didn't get the chance to sell theirs. They either blew them up or crashed them into a guardrail.
So props to you for sure on that part.
Right.
But it seems like you were pretty quick to get into the motorsport side of cars and getting into wanting to drive.
Yeah, totally. So when I started to get into cars, not coming from a car family, it wasn't like I was going to go wrench on my own stuff. And what I wanted to do primarily was just to be driving and drive whatever I could, wherever I could. So I kind of ventured straight into motorsports. I saw my 2 best friends growing up racing cars. So it was just going to the track, watching them, talking to their fathers and seeing how I could get into it. And, how I got into it was through school. And then, once you race or you do a track day, you want to race. And when you race, you never want to do anything else. So that's where I found myself after school.
They always like to say the first hit is free, right?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, for sure. What was your first race?
My first race was at Sebring with Champ Car.
Sebring. Oh, wow. We were just talking about that place.
Yeah. So fun.
Tell us your impressions of Sebring.
Bumpy, and it was raining a lot, and it was cold, and it was the best day of my life.
It's funny how those track days, those first races, no matter where they are, no matter what you're in, people are like, it was the best thing I ever did. I need more.
I was going to say, it's like when it's your first, it's special regardless.
Nice.
So now tell me a little bit about like the progress of you getting into motorsports, because I know you've been currently doing some pretty cool stuff overseas. But before we get into that, talk to me about the transition and how you were able to get there, because I feel like for a period of time that you were running in like Legends cars and maybe even doing like some short track stuff before you went overseas. But kind of tell me about that transition. So we did Champ Car, we did Lemons. What was the step after that?
So it was a big jump. I went straight to Europe pretty much after racing some short tracks. The reason I started racing short track stuff was originally because it can be expensive to get your road course license, like SCCA, NASA. You either have to go buy your own car and run a weekend and run clean and then spend a lot of money doing those race weekends, or go to a school like Sears Point or something like that, where they give you a certificate to be able to get those. What I did instead, and this is how I started going down that short track road, I had racing experience on road course. I went and raced short tracks. You don't need a license to race short tracks, or you need a local license. They're $40 at the gate, $50 at the gate, which is great for someone that's just starting out and wants to just go turn left. And then from there, I used just the experience from that to apply through NASCAR and ACUS to get my FIA internationals. And then I made that really big jump in competition over to Europe to go race in the EuroNASCAR series.
How did you decide to go over to Europe?
So I instruct at the Bridgestone Winter Driving School, and I was actually working for a different manufacturer doing an in-house commercial, and someone was talking about the NASCAR race that was going to happen on ice over in Europe. And I just started racing stock cars, and I was working as an ice driving instructor, and I was like, well, let's go over there and win that. So I went through the hoops to kind of set that up and facilitate like a sponsored ride. And pretty much actually 20 minutes after the phone call where everything was finalized and like it sounded like we were going to go race in Finland or wherever the ice race was, the series posted on Instagram announcing that it was going to cancel that race. So instead of bowing out, I was like, let's just go race the whole series and go try to raise money and see how we do over in Europe. Because I was told if I want to be a good driver, that I need to go race in Europe and go get my ass kicked. So
I think that's a path a lot of people hear about. Not that many people have the resources or just like the drive to get themselves over there. What was it like getting together with a sponsor? How'd you make that happen?
We actually, the first season, we didn't really run with a sponsor. So it was a lot of money out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
And then mutual friend of ours, Mason Flippy, he started a company called, or business, or kind of GoFundMe for racers, Open Fender. And I just started sending emails to every single person I knew, telling them I was going to go race in Europe, telling them that this was my passion, my dream, and that I was going to make it happen. And I received a lot of donations through that. And then eventually by the end of it, actually started selling merchandise in order to continue funding it.
Well, starting any business, especially in motorsports, pounding the pavement is a key ingredient for sure. That's awesome. That's a cool way to get out there.
Yeah.
No, I think your journey there is really cool of talking about, doing the short track stuff and very budget friendly, right? It's not a lot of money that goes into making that happen. And when people think about motorsports and getting a career started as a driver in motorsports, they think that it requires a lot of money. And it seems like the path that you took to get to a pretty cool series, right? European NASCAR, like that's pretty rad. I don't think a lot of people know about it, but like it sounds really, really cool. But to be very, budget mindset of I'm going to do everything I can as cheaply as I can, and then also taking that really cool route. Shout out to Mason Flippy. I even used it, his platform for when I went to Pikes Peak, but Open Fender is a great way to crowdsource and be able to grab a community to help support you to go racing. So it's really, really cool that you did that. So now, European NASCAR. What's that like?
It's amazing. It's one of I think the coolest series over in Europe, to be honest.
Did you have a base in Europe or were you moving around with the races?
So, yeah, the first year I tried to go over there and set up shop. Another part of it was I actually am a Swiss citizen and I was able to get citizenship. And I was like, all right, this will be super easy. Let's just move to Zurich and set up shop and race for a Swiss team and life's going to be great.
That's a pretty cool one to get if you can pick a citizenship to grab.
Yeah, it definitely helps out, having the EU passport.
Right on.
But I get over there and none of that comes to fruition. Pretty much, can't find housing, can't find work, struggling to pay for the racing. And eventually I had to give up because one, couldn't find a house, couldn't find the work, and then hit a wall pretty hard actually racing over there. So it was all closing in real fast all at once. Just didn't get established, but wasn't giving up hope racing in that series.
Yeah, Zurich's really expensive place to go to do anything. So I can imagine what racing must be like there.
Yeah.
And it's it's sort of like rule-oriented culture too. So you could think it might go along pretty well with, this is how we adjudicate a race. But at the same time, that sort of scrappy approach might be sort of at odds with the Swiss way of doing things.
Oh, 100% was. I live up in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and, it can be hard to find housing up there. And how I've always done it was I'll show up with cash and just pay the lease in full. And no one's going to ask any questions. You go to do that in Europe, people will not even look you in the eye after that. They will want nothing to do with you, nothing to associate with you. It is different world for sure.
I'd imagine, yeah. And the sense of grassroots has to be totally different over in Europe than it is here in the States. Like, is there a lot of dirt track kind of stuff going on over in Europe?
No, there is not. There's some over in England, I think, and there's some like spread out various parts. There's one oval that we ran over in the Euro series, but for the most part, the grassroots is completely different over there.
I guess this is even the foundation of the grassroots is the dirt below the grass.
Yeah.
So did you find being in the European NASCAR series as an American as an advantage in regards to developing a fan base? Because I feel like if I was European and I saw an American come over to race NASCAR, I'd be like, hell yeah, brother, I'm rooting for that guy.
Yeah, definitely a little bit. And that's kind of what we're going for too when I went over there to race. It was like, there at the time, I think there's people before me that were American that had raced over there, only I think a handful. And I was going to be the only US driver in that series for that season. And eventually, halfway through my first season there was a second US driver who raced Xfinity, but we were buddies. And, like we did have fans that probably only liked us because we were American. Like I wasn't doing phenomenal over there by any means. I had some car issues throughout the time I was there, and even had a American themed livery on the car, which I think people loved a lot. But it definitely helped a lot with the fans. And, I still have people from over there reaching out to me like on a weekly basis, just checking in and seeing what I'm going to be racing next, which is really cool as well.
What are you gonna be racing next?
We're going to be racing Pro Sportsman at Madeira in 2 days.
Killer, kind of a far world away from Euro NASCAR.
Yeah, definitely. So coming back from EuroNASCAR, you run road courses over there. And, I'm still actively pursuing career in racing and actively pursuing racing in NASCAR. And I just need more experience on ovals. So that's what we're doing this year. And then hopefully going to get a big start towards the end of it.
Killer.
It's kind of cool taking a step back of going to a series like European NASCAR, but going back to that grassroots once again of kind of building up a different skill set. It's kind of like in iRacing when you have to build up your licenses in different categories of, okay, yeah, I got a good road course license. I got a C class, B class. I'm in some good races there. But then my dirt oval license is still at rookie. So I need to go
Right.
back down to the baseline, do some pro stock or street stock and kind of grind through some races. So that's pretty cool. Tell me a little bit. I know you guys are on a road trip right now from Colorado to California, do a little bit of racing. Talk to me about some of the stops that you made on your way here.
Yeah. So from Colorado, our first stop was into Elko, Nevada. Or we went to Winnemucca first and then circled back to Elko, Nevada to race at Summit Raceway. And I just got in touch with a track promoter there, and he set me up with a guy that would rent me a good car. And then we did some testing in the morning and then went straight out to the racetrack. And it was a blast. Like it was everything I wanted to be and then more. Like the fans there, awesome. Like people were very excited that I was coming to race at their track. And just the racing's competitive and so much fun. It's so much fun to wheel a V8 car around a track just through the mud.
Help make the picture a little clearer, because when I hear about Winnemucca, I think about that Johnny Cash song on the old Winnemucca Road. I've been everywhere, and it sounds like you've been a lot of places. So give us a scene. What's that like?
Yeah, so when we pulled into Winnemucca, I mean, we just doing it cheap. Like you said, my career has been very, very budget friendly for the most part. So we just stayed at a little small motel by the freeway, you know, eating at like local bars at night and then going out to the dirt track in the morning. You pull up to the dirt track, hood's popped open on the watering truck. We're running it with no water out on the track. Guy gets out, he pulls the car out of the trailer, throws me pretty much the keys and says, go running. I'm not even in my race suit or anything. He just says, throw a hoodie on for me and you're
We
good
got
to
to be
go.
protected.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want any skin showing.
It's so funny, like grassroots motorsports, and a lot of people think about like road course racing, club racing as like grassroots, right? Running a spec Miata is
Mhm.
grassroots, but like grassroots in the circle track community in America is just such a different vibe. Like, I'm sure we're both very familiar when you show up to a track to race, it's like you need fireproof socks, fireproof underwear, full race suit, helmet, Hans, all this crazy stuff. You go to those grassroots races in the middle of nowhere on a circle track, and it's just kind of free for all. So it's such a cool vibe of like actually seeing that's still alive and doing well around America. So you get a couple laps in. Is this your first time on dirt?
Yeah, first time ever. We wanted to go try something new, and thank God someone was willing to let us use their equipment because that's a scary thing for a car owner to do. And instantly I just kind of felt at home in the car. I knew it was a good car the second the guy pulled it off the trailer, just clean, well kept. And we're just turning lap after lap for about 10 laps, and just each lap you could just tell we're getting faster. We're not timing anything. We're not using any telemetry. There's no data. It's just, will he crash the car in these first 5 laps that he's out there in it?
Tell me about the experience of being on a dirt oval for the first time. Is it just like as cool as you expected, getting sideways, hearing the V8, just trying to find that grip anywhere that you can?
Yeah, it's totally like that. I mean, it plays into what you think it would be. You're just full throttle down the straight and then just lift out, throw it in, and then just straight back to full throttle. And you're just keeping your eyes up through the corners and just kind of trying to find that line and just driving out wide to the walls and then bringing it right back down as you drive into the corner.
And every lap is different, right? Because the surface is continually changing underneath you.
Yeah.
Can you influence that? Do you feel like if you put your tire here next time, you're building a rut, or is it like you just got to be waiting for whatever everybody else is going to do and you kind of just deal with it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like while you're racing, they throw water down on the track and you actually go out and pack the track before you drive. And like there'd be people under yellows, under caution, that are just driving higher to pack in lines on the track so they can use it once it goes green again. It's pretty wild to watch.
So you did this short little test session, and then what, that night you're just straight into a race, an event?
Yeah, like literally we loaded the car up and then went back to the guy's shop. We tightened a few things up on the car and then just went straight out to the next track.
That's crazy. So just straight into the deep end of just complete adventure, middle of nowhere. You're just going to hop into a race. How'd it go?
It went well. It could have gone a little better if I had a better understanding of some of the local track rules.
Which are what?
I had no idea what an outlaw restart is. Do you know what that is?
No idea.
No.
So you know how a restart is. You line up 2 by 2. Outlaw restart, they put the first in the middle in front of everyone, and then you have to line up behind that. And your comms they can only talk to you. You can't talk back. So you can't ask any questions. So on some restarts, there's a little bit of delay of where I was supposed to be.
So you're getting yelled at by race control. What are you doing? Why are you on the outside? You be on the inside.
Exactly. And you're in a straight pipe car and you can't hear a thing. And and then people are pointing at you, telling you to go different directions.
Trial by fire.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, was the racing pretty close? Were you banging fenders with people or?
Yeah. First night, I did not want to tear up this guy's car because he was trusting me with it. So we didn't bang any fenders with anyone the first night. And we did pretty well. We came in second in the main event. We won the heat race, came in second, and pretty much I think we would have won it if we understood how the restart procedure worked a little better. He kind of got the jump on us, like 2 car lengths immediately on the green flag, and then it was just like chasing him down. And if there was more laps, we would have chased him down. And then second night, more confident, bigger field, not by much, just a couple more cars, and really giving it to people. And people were a little more aggressive on Saturday night than they are on Friday night because they're not saving their car anymore. So they're just diving down in the corners, bouncing off you. People are crashing each other.
They weren't extra polite since you were new?
Nah. If anything, they were less polite. But by the end of the weekend there, we got along well.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Did you have a bumper sticker on your car that said, "Oi, I raced European NASCAR"?
I should have. Yeah. Everyone knew I was a EuroNASCAR driver there too, which was kind of cool. It was cool to be out there and kind of be recognized for doing something different.
And you had driven on some road tracks in the US before you went over to Europe, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So what was that experience like? How did those tracks feel? Like, where did you go? And what was your kind of point of reference compared to what you've been to before?
Well, from what I've been here to before, it was a night and day difference, kind of the tracks over there, just like the banking through turns or just like the layout, Here, I feel like racetracks are a lot more flowy. Over there, things feel more stop and go, like just where you're entering a corner and like how much corner speed you're carrying through. Like a Laguna, like that track is confidence inspiring. You can go there and go 10/10 and feel comfortable with it. At like a Brands Hatch, you're just like diving off a cliff, down a hill, up into a 90 or 180-degree turn. There's cars right on the inside of you. Everyone's crashing into each other. So it was a lot different going to drive those tracks over there.
Would you say that European racers are a little bit more aggressive than American racers?
Yeah, from my experience, yes.
A little more cutthroat. I feel like they take it a little bit more seriously over there.
Oh, 100%. Like racing is everything over in Europe. And like you tell someone that you race cars on the streets, like they're instantly more like fascinated with who you are and what you do. Whereas sometimes tell someone you race cars in America, they're like, "Oh, cool, good for you." I'm just
And
like,
they'd ask no questions, and
yeah,
they have no
they're like,
curiosity
yeah,
about who
Right.
you are or anything, and you're like, "Huh, interesting."
They just pigeonhole you that way instead of like, "Hey, respect. We know what you're up to."
yeah,
Right? Yeah, I guess the motorsports culture in Europe is so diverse in so many ways, right? Like motorcycles are big, and you got NASCAR going over there, of course, Formula One forever, and touring cars, and there's all these different aspects of racing there. And I think people here they kind of know NASCAR or they know IndyCar, and those are the kind of buckets they put everything into. So it's got to be cool to have that experience and have people sort of light up and recognize what it is that you're doing just on kind of being introduced.
yeah, 100%. Like it's not just, oh, you drive F1. Like now we should think about you. It's like in Europe, you drive any kind of race car. Like people are like lining up the fences to come watch any kind of racing over there, which is really cool. Like they're coming in to watch the EuroNASCAR stuff, and then there's also everyone's watching all the support series. So it's a lot bigger deal over there than for it is sometimes over here.
Did you find that it was a little bit cheaper to run a race car over in Europe?
Yeah.
In in terms like comparative to American because I feel like over in Europe, like you're talking about these people, there's fans, there's people that actually want to watch, and that gives tracks or teams or whoever more opportunity in regards to sponsorship because there's actually a return on investment. Where here
Mhm.
in America, it's like, yeah, you could be running Porsche Sprint Cup Challenge, but like, who's watching that on TV? Nobody, right? But over in Europe, it sounds like, yeah, it's a little bit more ingrained into the culture, makes it easier on a driver to be able to afford it.
Yeah, 100%. When we were over there, like first thing I noticed about the series was that there were so many spectators, so many people wanted to see what NASCAR was about. Like our biggest event sells out. Like Brands Hatch, 60,000 people are there throughout the weekend.
That's insane.
Yeah, and you
When
have to buy tickets months in advance.
when's the last time you've seen a racetrack in America with full stands?
I don't think ever.
Early
Since I've
2000s
been
at
going to
NASCAR?
races. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, special events, Indy 500, things like
Mhm.
that. But
Yeah.
like every other race, pretty empty.
So, through all of this, you've done a lot of different forms of motorsports. Road courses, ovals, some paved ovals. Now we're getting into the dirt oval stuff. Out of all of those things, which has been your favorite so far? And maybe there's some things I'm not or I'm forgetting about. I know you do the ice driving, the snow courses as well. Out of all of these different terrains, out of all these different platforms, what would you want to go back to or what do you want to do more of?
I think right now, because I'm just so excited about it, the dirt, I want to get in faster cars out there on bigger tracks and see what it's like. I think I just love it. And I love being sideways in cars. But I really love it all. Like, it's not about the specific kind of driving. As long as I'm driving, I am extremely content and just having a good time. Like, I don't care if it's a road course. I don't care if we're racing rally. I don't care if we're going to a drift event. If I'm with like minded people at the track and I get to drive, that's all I care about.
Yeah, that's spoken like a true racer. I remember hearing about ovals for the first time and being like, I don't know, these road courses seem so much more interesting. Now I'm like, if you want to go in an oval, I'm so there, right?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. I guess there's an oval over in Europe too, right? In the Netherlands, isn't there an
Mhm.
oval track? What was that like? Did you have any point of comparison when you went on to that?
Yeah, so that was actually still to this day the biggest oval I've been on. It's a half mile. It's called Venray Raceway or Raceway Venray over in the Netherlands. And people came in from all over to watch that race just because it is a NASCAR race on an oval over in Europe. And it was an amazing facility, like super clean, really nice track, and big, honestly, like big grandstands that were packed. So it was cool to be over there and drive that. And being one of the few drivers that had oval experience in there was going to play in my benefit. Unfortunately, we had car trouble that weekend, but every oval's different, just like every road course is different. So you go over there, you're learning something. Like I was practicing like Bristol on the sim and like a bunch of other tracks on the sim, and like got over there, just nothing like what I had been practicing.
Right. That's always how it works out. I've been getting so good at this track. Wait, we're not going there? Oh no.
Exactly.
So, all these different backgrounds, all this different stuff. I know you're talking about your dream is still to get into NASCAR, get a NASCAR seat here in the States. I mean, maybe even beyond that. Is there like bucket list events or bucket list races that you're like, I just really need to be a part of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I like driving anything. This year, the goal is to just get a NASCAR start on a road course, whether that's ARCA, trucks, Xfinity. Definitely, we're not hopping in a cup car anytime soon. But like Le Mans, like that would be a really cool car or a really cool race to do, given any car. We've talked about doing Baja stuff as well, or just getting in any sort of rally car. So there's not like one ideal race in my mind that I want to do, but I just want to do them
I think
all.
that proves the point. If you say Le Mans and then Baja back to back,
Oh yeah, no.
you're kind of doing it all.
I love this like collection of stuff that's coming in. It's just like a collage blanket. It's like anything with a motor. Like if you got a seat, my hands in the air, put me in, coach. I got this. So I love that like the mindset is just like, yeah, anything that's cool and anything with a race car to go fast is cool.
Hell yeah.
So could you see yourself doing a K&N start or K&N Pro West Series start here at Sonoma?
I believe it's ARCA now, right?
It might be, yeah.
Yeah.
Arkham Menards or what K&N or
Yeah,
they
I've-
might be coming together. Whatever like the low level is.
Yeah.
I think
So
they still come to Sonoma, right?
K&N, I think, is now what ARCA is.
Okay.
I believe it changed somewhere in like in like 2018 era.
Okay.
Yeah, just
That sounds right.
But I think you could come
I'll
back
take
to Sonoma and do a start here and be like the
yeah.
road course ringer for Sonoma
That's what
Raceway.
it's on the table. Like I've talked to teams, I've talked to ARCA teams, I've talked to truck teams, and I would love to do that. It's just finance and
Finding the budget,
find the
finding
ride.
sponsors.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
ARCA isn't necessarily budget friendly, but we've never been scared of paying a little bit more for some racing. And if I do go that route, you have to be in a good car. So it might be a while till you see me in a seat like that. But if I do get in a seat like that, hopefully it's in the best equipment possible so I can bring a good result to, further the career.
It's so crazy to think and hear you say that ARCA is expensive. And when you talk about the realm of NASCAR in America, that's the bottom. That's
Yeah.
like the entry level series. So kind of unfortunate that over here in America it's a little bit more difficult to
Mhm.
find that budget, but hopefully some things come together and it'd be fun to see you take it to the other guys that run the series more often. And exactly to your point, like I've had buddies that get into NASCAR rides and they're just in junk equipment and they're made to look like a fool. So there's no reason to ever get into a series if you're not in a decent car. Because on the TV and to all the fans, they're just going to see your name and your finishing position. They're never going to consider if you're in the best equipment or if you're in, shabby stuff or you're in an oval car that they just retrofitted to make it seem like it's a road course car and oversell you on it.
Exactly. So that's the world we live in though. And, there's ways to overcome it. I think I can find one.
Right on. I didn't know that much about EuroNASCAR, so I just started poking around a little. And it looks like it's really friendly and welcoming to new drivers.
Mhm.
You go right to their webpage, and there's a section on there about how to do a test, how to get into a car. Tell us about your experience of like what that entry was like.
It was super easy, actually. Jerome, the president of the series, who's a phenomenal guy, I just honestly reached out with a phone call and I was like, I want to race in this series. And he was like, all right, talk to these people. Gave me teams to talk to, started talking to teams. And then, within like 2 or 3 months, I was in a car testing in France.
That's killer. You just connected with people, and they're like, "Yeah, come on over and drive for us."
Mhm.
That's amazing.
I think I might have to email EuroNASCAR, see what they're up to.
Same.
Some cars are available for
Time
next
to get on the
season.
road. Yeah.
So I want to throw it back. Your first experience of being on wheels in general, BMX.
Yeah.
I saw a throwback video on YouTube earlier today of some street footage in San Francisco. Your little promo clip of you on a BMX bike. Tell me, does that relate? Does that transition like the kind of community atmosphere around BMX? Like, did that also translate to that interest in cars of like this also has that community? It also is involved in like wheels and culture and like speed and having fun, or do you still kind of keep those two things separate?
They're still pretty intertwined, honestly. You see a lot with BMX, you see a lot of drifting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If you have a BMX bike, you're probably building a drift car at some point. And I still have tons of friends that ride bikes and tons of friends that drift, all from the same realm. I love bringing my bike to the track and ripping around the pits when I'm racing. I think that's awesome. Yeah, same worlds for me. And like I take a lot of inspiration from riding bikes into the car racing thing. Like when I was riding bikes, like I always just wanted to ride everything and go everywhere with it. And that's the same way I've been with racing.
Tell us about your favorite BMX build, because I think back to like this Diamondback I had when I was a kid. Man, it just warms me right up.
Probably favorite one. I used to kind of be tied in with this bike shop down in Palm Springs, actually. And they started making their own frames and they made like these beautiful American made frames in like a translucent gold color. It was called
That's
Idol.
sick.
Yeah,
Yeah, right
it
on.
was really cool. And the geometry on it was great. And I think I just had like I didn't even have like any crazy build on it, but the frame was so solid and the rest of the parts that I was running, and I could just do anything on that bike. And like that was the bike that I started to learn like crazy tricks, like doing tail whips and 180 tail whips and like 360 down like 15 stairs and going bigger. And it like was a strong bike too, so it just took the abuse.
It also seems like from your BMX days of like doing the promo videos and like the clips and throwing the music to it, you've also taken that same sort of culture to your social media presence of always throwing sick background music to some like hype clips and stuff like that. Your social media presence definitely has like those old school kind of like skateboard video vibes. So I really appreciate that you bring that in.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, it's so fun for me. Like, when I was riding BMX and making videos, like, I was doing it all for fun. And when I do that with, the race car stuff and like any driving stuff, I'm still doing it for fun. And like, as a race car driver, you have to build the social media following, but I still enjoy just like chopping up a video of me drifting around with my friends or at the track and then like throwing a cool song or fun song over it.
It just adds more character to it. And I mean, like, I feel like for most drivers nowadays, like, I compare a lot of them to just wet paper towels of like, yeah, you can wheel a car and this, that, the other, but like when they get in front of the camera and give interviews, it's like, God, this guy has no personality. And it's like, it's very refreshing to see someone like jump in a car and jump out and still have that like live personality. And it seems like it served you very well in European NASCAR to kind of play up that American side,
Mhm.
maybe with the facial hair, mullet. There's some great photos I saw of you over in Europe, and I was like, see, this is what motorsports needs. We need individuals, we need characters, we need people with personality.
Yeah. I mean, I had to go corporate for a second. We're interviewing for a job, but mustache and mullets on hold for a little
I
bit.
was a little disappointed when you walked in. I was
I
really
thought-
expecting something good.
Yeah, this is literally as of Tuesday.
You
Last
get the
Tuesday.
job first, then the mullet comes next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like when I started going into motorsports and stuff, even my parents were like hounding me to do social media stuff, but they were like, you have to change your name back to Nick Strickler on Instagram and like do this. And I'm like, no, I just want to authentically be who I am. And like, if people like it, that's going to take me further than if like I'm trying to be someone I'm not.
So where does the nickname come from?
It's a long realm of nickname shortening and lengthening. So in college, we had a big friend group with a lot of Nicks in it. So we all started going by last names. So it was Strickler, then Strick, then Rick, and then Uncle Rick, and then eventually back to Uncle Strick. Just because towards the end of college, I started nannying for a family who were awesome. 5 kids. They were so much fun to hang out with.
Kind of the same skill set as taking care of a really temperamental car, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. They were easier than any car that I've ever owned.
Right on.
I was in charge of fun and we'd go to the skate park and go karting and do fun stuff.
Yeah, I thought your name was Rick every once in a while. Like I'd get confused. I'm like, wait, why is his uncle Rick? So yeah. Anyway, I
Yeah.
thought that was funny. I like that you're using that as kind of your driving persona, and that's where a lot of like your swag and design and stickers come from. Is that kind of fun side of it, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you been called out by your nickname instead of people knowing your proper name? So like
100%.
that's kind of your persona at that point.
Yeah. Like the track at Elko, like half the people there that we like met or ran into or that knew that I was coming only knew me as Uncle Strick. They're like, what's your actual name? I was like, oh, my name's Nick Strickler.
I'm surprised they even asked that. They're like,
Yeah.
you're just Uncle Strick, man. It's all good.
Exactly.
Now, with all of this and the journey that you've taken in motorsports, what sort of advice would you give to the next generation? Like, say if there's a young kid that's looking to get into anything with a motor, what is your biggest piece of advice? What sort of things have you learned through your journey that you would give to someone else?
The biggest piece of advice I think I'd have to give is just going and doing it. And it sounds so much easier said than done. But going and doing it isn't just getting in the car. It's putting the time in and the research to find a way to get into the car. Like I said, I race pretty budget-friendly stuff. And how I find those budget-friendly things is just getting on Instagram and connecting with people or getting on Facebook and finding a Facebook group that talks about race cars or where to rent race cars. And then just showing up at your local track and going to talk to people. Like there's a race I want to run later this year at a local short track and like literally just went, asked people who's got arrive and drive equipment and like made the connection, So it's really about just putting yourself out there and taking the steps to put yourself in a position to be behind the wheel.
Yeah, always say yes when opportunity comes knocking. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Be open to any option. Just because you want to maybe run a specific series or a specific car, it seems like with your journey, you were just open to anything of like, let me just gain knowledge, let me gain experience, and I'll eventually get to where I want to go. But along the way, don't be so close-minded. And I mean, I feel like in this world of motorsports, there are so many options and there are so many disciplines that you can get involved in. And it's like, enjoy all of them, explore all of them. They all have something different to offer. They all have their own community, but they share that, like you were talking about, that common passion. If everyone's like-minded in the paddock, it makes for a fun time regardless.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm really curious about the European experience too, because coming up to 2020, I was getting set to try to go over to Europe to race, and then COVID kind of messed all that up. I haven't gotten back over there, but kind of curious, like, what was the hardest track that you were on? Because some of those don't look like the kind of configurations that I would say that's a NASCAR track.
Well, hardest. None of them were like crazy hard. I always struggled at Valencia.
Yeah.
And then my least favorite was Vallelunga, just because I've had bad experiences there.
Oh,
and
really?
I'm slow there too.
Oh man, not you don't have the whole Italian experience.
I don't think the Italians like me very much.
Oh, come on, Uncle Strick.
No, I'm just playing. But yeah, Valencia, just like what I was just saying, like kind of like a very stop and go track. Like that was Valencia for me.
Yeah.
Like the first turn's like a nice big sweeper into it, and then like after that, it's like 90 degree, 90 degree, 90 degree, 90 degree the whole way around the
Oh,
track.
it sounds like Sebring to me.
Yeah. Yeah, Sebring had
That's
more
all
fun.
right.
That's my argument against. I don't like Sebring. I did not enjoy Sebring. Sebring for me was like long straightaway, big braking zone, right hand turn into long straightaway, big braking zone, right hand turn. It's like gets kind of old after. Like
Yeah.
before I went to Sebring, when I drove it on the sim, I got lost. I was like, everything looks the same, and then until you drive it in real life, you're like, oh, these are different corners.
I actually had the same experience. Like the first time before I ever hopped in a race car, they made us come over to some kid's house in college and like play on the sim and see like if we were going to be able to do it. Couldn't even figure out how to get out of the pits.
At Sebring?
I kid you not. Yeah, I couldn't get out of the pits.
There are people who just take to sim racing and get right into it, but it can be so different than actual road racing, just the whole experience, the visual of it, to know which way you're going and all that, the elevation, it doesn't feel at all the same. So I kind of had that same experience. I'm like, first time I tried to drive on a sim at Laguna, the Laguna pit out's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, what the hell is that? Am I supposed to drive in the dirt? I don't think I'm supposed to drive in the dirt. No, they want me to drive in the dirt. No, close,
Did anyone in the sim room look at that and was like, all right, maybe we shouldn't put this guy behind the wheel. Maybe he's not
Oh,
cut out for this.
100%. They were like, we're not too sure about this guy.
Thankfully, they still gave you a shot, and you're still racing today.
Well, I qualified well in the car in the rain, so I showed pretty decent car control. But sim racing, I had never even touched a sim before that. I was ready to go real racing before I touched a sim.
Who needs computers? Put me in the real thing.
I don't know. Video games count.
Yeah, I like sim racing. I'm not good at it at all, but I like doing it.
Yeah, it's a good way to spend a lot of time and be frustrated by what you're doing on there, I think. But the consequences are a lot better than out in the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit more about the Bridgestone School. So I feel like you spend a lot of time there, especially during the winter months when they're running their programs.
Is it weather dependent, or is it just gets enough snow and then it's just good for the season?
It's completely weather dependent. Like if we don't get snow early season, like the first year I worked there, we didn't start till January 8th, first day of class. And like typical start date is December 15th. Yeah.
Waiting around for it.
Yeah. And
It's a lot like racing every way.
And you're just like, you're there just trying to build the track as well. So it will snow and then it will stop snowing and you'll have to start from scratch. That's what happened my first year there.
Oh, that's a drag, man.
Yeah.
Like, bringing out the tractors, you're like, come on, do we have enough?
Yeah.
Put it together, make a little bank, out around the side. You're like, okay, we got an eighth of the track done today. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think like building a snow track, like there's so much science involved. We obviously don't need to get into it because it's proprietary information for
Oh, yeah,
Bridgestone, how they develop it. But like you think about a dirt track and you're like, dirt tracks are all different in how you compact it and what soil you use and the humidity versus the moisture and all this crazy stuff. And like that's why Eldora is such a great dirt track, is the specialty in that. But like working with snow, I feel like would be way more difficult because it's like depending on the type of snow that falls, if it's super like light and it doesn't crush or compact and it's kind of dusty, or if it's over moistured and all that sort of stuff. So it's a really cool science to me. Like once again, we don't need to talk about the specifics because I know Bridgestone's very, very protective of how they make it happen, but it's gorgeous. I mean, it looks fabulous.
It's like the most beautiful facility for driving anything you've ever been to. It's just like mountains 360 degrees around you and then just like an all white surface with not a stain on it.
No
It's like
wonder
the
they don't.
Pebble Beach of racetracks
Yeah.
Yeah.
for snow tracks. It's
Yeah.
like well manicured. Everyone's got to be professional.
Well, I think it is the largest facility for snow driving in the world. It's like
Wow.
90 acres and 3 tracks, 2 tracks. One kind of combines with another one.
And are there like school programs in addition to races that go on there? Like, how does one get involved with this?
It's all school programs. So we don't run any like wheel. It would be cool to run wheel to wheel.
I was going to say, talk
Yeah.
to the owners right now. It's like, all right, we need to get Travis Pastrana and the nitro cars out.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
electric. They'll be clean. Right?
Exactly.
It's good for the environment. Good
Yeah.
promotion for Bridgestone.
But
Bridgestone, hit me up.
they just do pretty much all classes. So it's such a short season. It's December 15th to March 8th, and then like they're done. And it's safety, performance, and then like our executive protection stuff.
And how much are you able to take away from that? So I guess learning traction, learning how to read a track, learning the track that changes out from underneath you. I have to imagine a lot of that's applicable to dirt track, but is it also on the pavement?
Yeah, it's applicable across all platforms, honestly. You know, you build such good car control because things can happen so quickly out there. So when you go back to tarmac, you have to learn to like slow your inputs down a little bit. Dirt track, you know, reading the surface. Like that's what I like was struggling with a little bit, but like started to pick it up quicker with last weekend when I was racing. It was just like the dirt's more compact over there. It's gonna have a little bit more grip, so drive over there. And like same thing with the ice. It's like kind of opposite actually. You know, someone's already driven over it, it's taking the grip out of it. So you just have to find like new places to drive.
Are there those kind of tips or tricks that you can give people who don't have maybe experience with dirt driving? Like, you know, somebody who come to Sonoma in the rain, you'd be like, just drive offline.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you do on
On the snow,
Yeah.
basically, you know, if someone's been driving over the same spot, just move your tires over 6 inches. It's like what I tell everyone. Like snow tires work by grabbing other snow to create more traction. So if you're just moving around the track, you know, you could take the fast line through the corner. It's just going to look different every single time. And that's kind of a little bit like with dirt tracking as well as what I realized is like that line's going to work and work and work until it doesn't. And then you got to change your line and figure out a better way to do it.
Yeah, the
gotta be-
dynamic line.
Mhm.
Got to be able to adapt. And it
Yeah.
seems like the more situations you put yourself in as a driver, that it forces you to adapt and change to the circumstances. I mean, the better driver you are to just quickly shift and change. And like you've done so many different things and you're fast in anything you can really jump into. And that sort of experience really provides that. I'm sure with snow driving, you yell at people all the time of like, turn in early. Turn in as early as you think you need to turn in. Things just happen so much slower, I
Yeah.
would imagine, on the snow.
Exactly. It's like I was out there with my girlfriend one time. I was like, start turning now. And it was like 150 feet before the corner. It's just
Halfway down the straightaway. She's
Yeah.
like, are you sure?
like, yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, turn in early. You know, it's going to take a second or two for those tires to do anything for you.
You have to get to be so adaptable, right? Because you're always learning and getting drummed into. You're like, you don't want an early apex, man. You
Mhm.
gotta go late, and then you get on this other surface, and it's exactly the opposite. So
Yeah.
a lot from that we talked about early on about the engineering kind of a mindset, what it takes to be able to take things apart and put them back together in different ways. So each of these surfaces, each of these different kind of cars requires that different approach. Whether you're the engineer or not, you seem to have been exposed to that sort of way of thinking about things.
Yeah, definitely. I'm far from an engineer, but, you know, I studied philosophy. So, you know,
The philosophy of engineering.
exactly.
So what's your philosophy in racing and driving cars?
Go fast, take chances.
Thought you were about to say something else for a second. I was like, ooh.
When was the last time you were at Sonoma Raceway on track, and what were you driving?
2-ish years ago. And I was driving that 5.0 Mustang, the caged one that I bought when I was working here. I bought a drift car just so I could do Sonoma drifts for free when I was working here for a summer.
You got to have perks of the job, right?
Exactly. I
Right.
was like, I got to make this worth it somehow. I wasn't making any money with my commute, so I was like, free drift days.
We got to pour one out for Sonoma drifts.
Yeah.
I know they got rid of it.
Really?
Just when I got a free E36 and I was going to make it into a little missile, there's no drift events anymore.
That's such a bummer. Yeah, I mean,
They're all private. I mean, I can get you connected with the guy that puts on the private events and
Mhm.
you can get invites, but yeah, they don't do like the Wednesday night run what you
Oh.
brung. Just if you want to slap the
those
wall,
are the
you can.
best. Yeah. Yeah, last time I was here, I watched a Miata crash like into a wall just right in front of me. It was awesome.
It's half the entertainment. Like
Yeah.
it's just like anything. Everyone's just hoping for a wreck, hoping for a crash, and it's
Yeah.
like the cocky dude that brought his Infinity G35, and you're like, yeah, I hope that thing ends up in a wall.
Right. You have the imprint of the K wall on the side of your car. You know
Yeah.
you're doing it right.
Exactly.
The embarrassing tow home
Well, the last thing I was driving here was that Mustang that I was selling right before I went to Europe, and I was doing tandems for the first time ever on turns 2 and 3,
Oh,
or
that's
3 and 4.
risky.
That's a
Yeah,
good place to do
I
it.
had a guy lined up to buy it the next day, and I was like, "Let's go to run Sonoma
So
drifts the
did the
night
guy
before."
buy it, or did the story
Yeah,
end bad?
no, great story. I sold the car and went and moved to Europe the next day after that.
So if he had any issues, he's like, sorry, dude, international phone number.
Yeah, exactly. No, he was super cool. He was, can't remember the guy's name, but he like set up track days as well, and they were going to use it to start promoting drift events that they were going to put on. They never started promoting drift events. I've never seen the car on any tracks ever again. The only place I've seen it for sale is a used car auction. I tried to buy it back, but
So you've owned a lot of interesting vehicles. Right now, there's a, what is it, an '05
oh
Escalade
yeah, the best
sitting
car ever
outside?
made.
So through all of the very eclectic vehicles that you've owned, what are some highlights that you can share with us?
Let's see. I mean, I had a, just like you, a gorgeous E36 M3, like a low mileage one, 90,000 miles. Because I thought it would be a good idea to start buying and selling cars to pay for racing. And it worked for a little bit during that COVID hotspot market. But you can't make a lot of money buying and selling sports cars, I found out. Or at least if you're a broke college kid, you got to buy nicer sports cars.
Yeah, cars as an investment is something we've talked about before, and I think we're all running screaming from that.
Yeah,
Yeah, or if you get caught with like that one bad egg and it just
exactly.
eats up all your cash, you're like, God, this wasn't worth it. I should have just gone to the casino instead.
Well, we've been doing that a lot too.
On
How
the
do you
way
pay
from
for-
Elko, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're running through Nevada or wherever it is, it's like, yeah, okay, we got to put a bunch of money on black on the roulette table. Like, hopefully it goes good and we can race tonight, boys.
Exactly. That was the original idea behind this, is because one of my buddies that I was racing with in Europe, we were driving I'd fly into Strasbourg and then drive to the races with him, and then we'd hit casinos on the way back. Like, this would be awesome if we could just like go gamble and then pay for the racing and then go race and just like see how long it lasts. So that was kind of the idea of why we started doing this road trip, except he can't get into the US right now at the moment. So he's taking a back seat for this one, and hopefully we'll pick up where we left
It's
off.
a great idea of like, all right, if we win this hand of blackjack, we race tonight. Really cool concept until all of a sudden you start losing a bunch. And you're like, dude, what are we doing? We're losing money. We have no content. We're not racing.
Oh my God, it would be miserable.
This is like one of those hybrid activities, right? You have the gambling and the racing are part of the same overall sport, we'll
Yeah.
call this. It's like biathlon is like skiing and shooting. Like, who put that together? Great. Now we're going to have you gamble for your ride and your ride for your gambling. So that seems like a good way to do it.
I mean, the YouTube video that I'm about to put out, I think we're going to call it Racing Cars and Counting Cards. So,
That's solid.
yeah.
All right,
dig
I'm
it.
tuning in. When is this premiering?
I'm about quarter away through editing the clips that we have. So it should be sometime next week.
Just don't tip off those places with your social media if you're going to be going there and, counting some
Oh,
cards.
I can't count cards. I just have buddies that do, that we met up with.
You're giving him way too much credit. All right,
Come on.
You just got to watch your friend's bet spread. And then if he's betting big, that means the count's good. Then you bet big. You don't actually have to know how to count cards.
You just need one smart friend.
Yeah, you don't even have to be that smart. Apparently, it's pretty easy.
It's kind of like drafting in a stock car, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, look what that guy's doing. Get there.
Yeah, 100%.
Rock on.
Get in the toe and go for it. Any closing thoughts before we wrap things up? Anything you want to share out to the world?
I guess, we're all trying to do something like podcasts and social media stuff this day. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, Uncle Strick TV. Follow me on social media. I've never plugged myself like this before. Follow me on Uncle Strick on Instagram. And
Get good at it, racer.
I was gonna say, don't you feel so legit right now?
I've always felt legit.
Hey, you're a race car driver. You're basically a whore with a helmet.
Yeah,
all right?
exactly.
Take money however you can get it.
Exactly.
Let me hand you this goat fuel. See what that feels like.
Yeah, I bet it's delicious and will give me tons of energy to go racing next weekend.
You're good at that. You're natural.
Yeah. And thank you guys for having me on here.
Thanks for being on. This is really fun.
Absolutely. This has been a fun discussion. Uncle Strick, look out for him at your local short track.
Mm-hmm.
Might be banging doors,
Next time,
collecting prize money.
dirt track racing.
Dirt
Oh, yeah.
track racing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. This has been Cold Start. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.